Hi Dan, good morning as per Chicago time and good evening as per India time.
Same to you, and I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to deliver this session with our students. So, guys, I'll just give you. It will not be. I'll not be able to do justice with his profile by introducing him, but I'll just give you a brief introduction to about Dan, so that you can know that what experience do he brings to the table. So, guys, Dan is founder of the MB Exchange Limited. It is one of the INC 5000, that is America's one of fastest growing private companies. He has also been former vice president of national consumer marketing at Citibank. And similarly, Dan holds multiple hats, and he had done his MBA from Harvard Business School. And at present, he is president at Bauer and Association Incorporation in Chicago, which he is holding this position for more than 26 years now. If we talk about his overall experience, he brings to the table an experience of more than 55 years. So, Dan, with this quite rich experience and your academic profile and everything, it brings to me to my first question regarding your profile. Like, despite being so much such a good profile, like you have had an incredible educational background and a professional journey, but why would a Harvard MBA working for Citibank quit to start the MBA exchange in 1996? So what made
Well,
you do this?
yes. First of all, hearing my background, I feel very old momentarily, but then I look at all the faces in the webinar, and now I feel young. So it's averaging out perfectly.
Yeah.
Um, so to answer your question, I grew up as the son and grandson of entrepreneurs, and so that was always on my radar screen. However, I felt the need early in my career to pursue a corporate path to uh, add credibility, credentials, learning, build a network, and so on. So I reached a point in that journey, um, not at well at Citibank in a way, but then I moved on to Mastercard, where eventually the constraints of corporate life started to squeeze in and reduce the joy and satisfaction and fulfillment that I was getting from my career. One of the realities of these large organizations is
Mhm.
politics, egos, uh, sometimes even turf battles, um, things that are distractions from achieving meaningful things. And so as the scale increased in those negatives and frustrations and disappointments, I found myself thinking back to my entrepreneurial roots, and that path seemed more appealing to me. Also, by that point, I had invested in my education. Um, the MBA program at Harvard Business School was one that teaches people to be leaders, general managers, visionaries, etc. And I wanted to put that to work. So it was really this intersection of frustration with the corporate world, um, the appeal of a more dynamic, open-ended entrepreneurial arena, and the potential of putting to work
Okay.
the the education that I had gained along the way. So that's what prompted this, flip of my direction into an entrepreneurial one. And candidly, I never looked back. It fulfilled and exceeded all the reasons why I did it, and that continues to be the case. So I hope that answered the question.
So yeah, your experience and your journey quite well defines the different paths that you have taken. You have taken just names, few names just like that, whether many of us just dream to pursue those careers. So that honestly defines your overall journey and the decisions, the tough decisions that you had to make on this journey. So as you as we are having this overall conference or overall session for school students, for students who are in their graduation year, school years, basically early school years. So we are organizing this competition called Youth Ideathon for school children. So here are some young entrepreneurs, young aspiring entrepreneurs who wants to start their own business and start their own journey of the entrepreneurial journey. So, what would you advise them? Like, how does someone build a business and scale it to a global business?
So the simple answer is just begin, just start. Um, the first idea that you pursue will not be the last idea that you pursue. It also will
True.
not be the best idea that you pursue. So start with something instead of just pondering it, thinking about it. Um, do it. That's number one. Number two would be draw from your passions and your interests. The life of an entrepreneur is 24/7. Even when you're sleeping, you're thinking about and dreaming about and,
100%.
and refining this idea. So if it's not something you love and fully engages you, that's not going to be possible. You're going to discard it and have a vacuum, which is not very enjoyable. So,
Very true. Very true.
yeah, draw from your passions and your interests. I would say those are the things. Have a bias to action, get started, try something, and draw from your heart first and then your head.
That is very inspiring. Actually, that is true to many of us agree to that, but we fail to follow it in the longer run. To do the what inspires us the more to do the be inspired from our own passions and be action oriented. But as we grow some business, as we build a business, we build this as our own child, right? So after having a business built business for 20 years, as you said that no business will be perfect, no idea will be perfect. There will always be a scope for improvisation. There will be no not a best idea ever. So after having built a business for about 20 years, just like your child, why would you sell your business?
Okay, so um, the best time to sell the business is before you fall out of love with it, because it takes a lot of energy and confidence and patience to sell a business. There'll be a lot of one of the cliches we say is a lot of tire kickers. In other words, when you're trying to sell a car, there's a lot of people that come by, they walk around it, they look at it, they kick the tires, they touch the paint, and then they walk away. So this can
True.
be frustrating. You don't want to have to sell it at the time that you start to sell it. So that's one thought. In my case, after 20 years of 7-day weeks, it was starting to get tiring. I had a lot of adrenaline and energy and passion, but 20 years is a long time. So taking a step back and realizing where I was in my life and how much more I wanted to do and do new things, I felt that that was the right time. Another element is when the right opportunity comes up for a less stressful, more gratifying transaction, that's valuable. So in my case, it was one of my colleagues who I had hired, trained,
Mm-hmm.
and given a management position who approached me to buy the business. I realized that this was someone who knew me, trusted me, and liked me, and vice versa. So I knew that the transaction would not be adversarial, but it would be at a nice, comfortable pace. And I would not have to devote weeks and months to participate in the due diligence process that a typical third-party buyer would require. So that was the case. And also financially, I realized that the selling price could equate to, in my case, probably 7 years of additional 7 years of working at the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that, okay, if I can basically, ensure my financial security now for 7 years rather than waiting 7 years to do it, then that made sense. So those were the factors that I considered in selling it. It was not something that I forced, but it happened organically, and that helped me feel good about it. So that was kind of the selling process. Did I miss it after I sold it? Absolutely.
True.
Right. So this was a hunk of my life that, I was stepping back from. But as part of the transaction terms, I was able to step back at my own pace. So I spent another 2 years as an advisor and chairman, where I could more gradually reduce my involvement. And rather than overnight, who's Dan? Where did he go? I didn't have to endure that embarrassment or frustration. So
True, true.
all the stars aligned, and that was the right time and the right buyer and the right price. So I did it.
So, as you mentioned that you got the right person to buy it off, so you didn't have to worry about whether this person will be able to handle this business or not, or whether there will be any negative impact on the business or not. So that was an excellent choice at the right time. But did you have any other offer before this particular point of time when you sold this business at this point of time? Did you have any offer before this time that you had an option to sell this business?
So actually, this was the second opportunity to sell it. I had begun the process of selling it to another player. And frankly, the stresses and frustrations of that initial potential transaction helped me know that the second one, which was less stressful and forced, was better. So there's a learning opportunity when engaging in a sale that I took advantage of, and was very rewarding, because it helped me know when the opportunity was right as opposed to just expedient. So yes, the other point I want to raise is it can be very hard to sell a service business, because the tangible assets are not there. There's no factory, there's no inventory. I had some intellectual property, I had some contractual relationships. I had built a team of about 100 people, who were, I'm not going to say contractually bound, but they were committed to the business. So those were the assets that I was selling. It was also my reputation and my history of providing excellent service to clients, and so that's what I sold. And that can be difficult to sell when it's not a tangible product company. So that's what the reality was. The whole process of courting potential buyers and working through them was probably 2 years, and that's kind of short for the sale of a business. So that's once one decides to sell, it's only the beginning, it's not the end.
True, true, very true. So, were you actively looking for the buyers of your business, or was it just like someone came in and they realized, yeah, this is good. This is a good business. They are doing really good, and we should take it over, something like that.
I'm laughing at myself as you asked that question. In the beginning, I was very intentional. I paid an investment banker significant money to develop a book about the business, all the numbers, all the history, et cetera, et cetera. And he went to market for me as my representative. And that was my proactive effort to sell it. I laugh because that wasn't what generated the sale.
That's true.
It was someone coming 2 weeks later, literally after the first opportunity blew up. 2 weeks later is when my colleague approached me. He didn't know I was very private and discreet about my efforts. So this
Mhm.
could be karma that 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that door closed, a better door opened and my trusted colleague said, I want to buy it. So you can plan all you want, you can try all you want, you can strategize all you want, but sometimes it just clicks and just happens. And that's what happened.
That is a very true statement, and honestly, many a times, even most of the times, it just clicks. Many times we meet
Yes.
someone and we are not sure whether we should be working with this particular person or not, but it just clicks, and we are like, yes, this is the right person.
Yes. So
But
keeping your eyes open, keeping your ears open, being willing to walk away and pivot from
true,
something that's not working is a critical life skill and entrepreneurial skill, in my opinion.
learning to say no at the wrong moment and learning to say right yes at the right moment, that has to be known by someone. Very
Yes.
true. So as we can see on your profile as well, that you are yourself are a marketing strategist and you have had very great clients. From your clients range from Fortune 100 companies to mid-sized companies and even startups. So even after all that exposure and experience, you couldn't get yourself away from the startup world and become a founder yourself. Is it true?
It's very true. I retired for one weekend. Um, 2 days after I sold the business, I realized I love business. It's my hobby, it's my passion, it's my happy place. And so I thought, well, how can I take advantage of and apply this learning, academic learning, professional learning, personal learning? How can I put it to work the best and be the most satisfying and rewarding? And so that
Mhm.
was through marketing consulting. Um, I have uh, you know, a preference and a sort of predilection toward um, immersing myself in new situations. I love to learn. I love to sort of scan the landscape
Mhm.
and draw hypotheses about, what am I seeing and what could be done to improve it. This was ideal for this marketing consulting, um, you know, activity. So that's what I started to do. That's one of the things I started to do entrepreneurially, was to launch this marketing consulting practice where now, and since 2016, I get to be immersed in totally unique, diverse industries that I
Mhm.
knew little or nothing about. I bring the frameworks and the experience and the network that I gained to that point and apply it and come up with fresh thinking and proposals and recommendations to optimize the client. And then, so that's my another joy that I have, is being able to be like the honeybee going from flower to flower. And so
True, true, true.
it's a lot of fun.
So you had a knack for problem solving. You solved a problem on your own, started your own venture. Then you started this doing this for other businesses as an advisor and consultant. And you realized that no, you want to do it for your own self again. So you started another venture.
Exactly. The objectivity that I could bring to new problems, new industries, new companies was a joy for me, and it still is. It really keeps the wheels turning, and I love doing that as well.
We can see it as a skill, we can see it as a behavior, we can see it as a basic trait of a personality, but this is something that many of us aspire to be. So going forward, we can we have seen that INC magazine has described you as a creative dynamo. So so that does that relate to your marketing efforts, or does that relate to your first venture?
Um, Frankly, it relates to my other passion, which is uh, inspiring, coaching, mentoring the next generation of founders.
I,
And so this was the concept I came up with in 2019, was launching an entrepreneurship camp summer program for high school students.
the
And so
INC magazine Young Entrepreneurs, is it?
exactly. So that's what
Yeah.
connected me with Inc. magazine.
Yeah.
Um, uh, my entrepreneurial methodology is about aggregation. I'd love to bring together best of breed partners and weave them together in synergies that are greater than the sum of the parts. And so that's what I did. I looked at the other entrepreneurial programs out there, US based, and I saw gaps, I saw holes, I saw constraints. They were either too academic or they were too narrow in their focus on high tech. And so I saw this great untapped middle opportunity for students who have entrepreneurial dreams that are not yet defined. They could be products, they could be services, they could be old economy, they could be new economy. And I wanted to create a platform for them to explore their own ideas, add the academic frameworks to help them structure it and pursue it. And so I found an excellent curriculum developer, aggregated the best of breed camp, curriculum provider, teachers, and ultimately sponsor. Inc. Magazine is the leading entrepreneurial media platform. And I highly recommend to everyone on the webinar to check out Inc. Inc. Magazine, Inc.com. It's a wonderful resource. And so they became also passionate and enamored with my vision for this camp. And so we all joined forces in 2019 and launched it online. And then over the subsequent years, did it in person. I'm just back from the biggest execution of this camp idea. Over the last month, I visited and was entrepreneur in residence at 5 college campuses in the US, very prestigious schools: University of California, Berkeley, Yale, Columbia, Duke, and University of Michigan, where I met with 900 students from around the world, including India. And I recruited 60 CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, including my friend Skylar Scarlett, who is a Shark Tank alum and has presented to this group. So that became yet one more exciting opportunity for me to fulfill my entrepreneurial juice. And that is one of the most gratifying things I've ever done. Next year, we're going to be bigger and better, maybe 1,000 students at 6 campuses. So it's, that's my latest endeavor that brings a smile to my face.
This is basically a perfect example of your problem identification and problem solving behavior that you possess. And at the same time, your action orientation, that when you started, you had a very little support, but when you kept on going, you got support. Many people joined you, many organizations joined you in the journey. So that is an excellent learning for us as well. But during the process, I would like to understand that, can you share a significant challenge that you faced during your entrepreneurial journey? But I would like to understand this in 2 phases. One, when you started your first venture, what were the challenges that you faced back then? And what were the challenges that you faced in your recent venture? And how were the learnings useful in this process?
Very good. I love both of those questions. So the first venture, the MBA exchange, the challenge that I faced was identifying a real need, a frustration, what I call a pain point in the marketplace that I could address. I made assumptions rather than confirming the pain point. And so the mistake I made, it was a good mistake because I learned from it, was to start a business, a different version of the business, which was in a sense, a mini MBA program using case materials from Harvard graduates as teachers. And I launched this little business. Well, I found out very quickly that I was not addressing a real need or pain point because I couldn't get traction with it. People either wanted the real thing or nothing. And so there I was right out of the gate, my first venture was not successful. And the challenge that I embraced was, how can I pivot this in a way that will really address and resolve a need? And so that's when I focused on advising people who were pursuing the
Mm-hmm.
real MBA degree. And within 6 months, I had a viable, growing business. So the challenge was overcoming my initial disappointment and mistake, and not giving up, but building on it, taking advantage of that disappointment and learning to make it something real. So that was my first challenge with the first
No,
venture.
this is an excellent learning for us, as like being from a marketing background, you yourself in the very beginning of your first venture, you yourself just skipped the part of market research and just jumped into the venture with some assumptions. So that explains that anybody can make mistakes and anybody can make silly mistakes as well. But you need to learn from your mistakes and get on to the. You should be able to accept that you need to pivot now.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. So to answer your second question,
Yeah.
the challenge I faced with my current venture, the Young Entrepreneurs Initiative, was
Mhm.
finding the best partners. Um, I succeeded with the curriculum and the teachers and the sponsor, but not with the camp partner. This is the organization that provides administration and you know relationships with the schools and so on.
Mhm.
And so um, I explored it, I researched it, but I could not find. I tried, and it was only the third camp partner that I was able to connect with that has proved to be the winner. So the challenge was progressing without an optimal partner. Um,
True.
it was frustrating and disappointing. But again,
Mhm.
just like the first time, I learned from it. I found out which aspects of that partner's contributions were vital, essential, and which were not. And so
Mhm.
it helped me refine my criteria for choosing a partner. And finally, on the third try, I found one that hit every checkbox, everything on my list, and that has
Excellent. Nice.
proved to be the winner. And so now I've overcome that challenge, and uh, my mission now is to continue to merit and earn and deserve their best contributions. And so I've overcome one challenge, and now I've given myself another one, which is now earn it, and keep earning it.
Excellent. So, in short, we can say that in the first venture, you skipped on the this marketing research, consumer research part, but in the second venture, the collaboration part, the institutional collaboration part that you are saying, you skipped on to the institutional research part. You forgot to research about what type of collaborations do you need. So
Exactly.
this takes me to the next question. That in general, when we try to collaborate with institutional partners, basically the established institutional partners, they always ask, "What do you bring to the table?" So, as a startup, as a new venture with no history of any sessions or any programs, what could we offer to the such organizations or such partners?
Excellent. So, what I brought to the table and what won the confidence and trust of my partners was, in this case, my specific background of having founded, grew, led a the 20-year coaching and mentoring business, the MBA
Mm-hmm.
Exchange. So,
Yeah.
my clients were typically young adults in their 20s, the
Mm-hmm.
frameworks I developed and the growth that I um, nurtured was relevant to this high school student oriented program. So that was number one. Number two was I was an entrepreneur myself. So
Yeah.
I understood every phase of the journey, of having the idea, finding the resources, putting them together, tweaking the model, refining the model, finding the target market, all the elements of the entrepreneurial journey I had done, and therefore I could curate the curriculum and the selection of of topics. The third thing was my network. As an entrepreneur, as a Harvard Business School graduate, as a member of the Inc. 5000 fastest growing businesses, I had relationships that I could tap to bring in these amazing entrepreneurs like Skylar to
Mm-hmm.
volunteer their time as speakers and as judges for the pitch competition, the Shark Tank like competition.
Yeah.
So I was able to draw from my personal/professional network and amplify the real world entrepreneurship exposure and engagement that makes this program so robust. So those are the things I brought to the table. I needed a value proposition that instantly earned trust, confidence, and
True.
synergies with the other
Yeah.
partners, and that's what I did.
So the primary thing was your experience and exposure that you could brought to the table, and the next best thing was your entrepreneurial network and your client base. So all of those collectively contributed to convincing your institutional collaborators that yes, you are the right person to collaborate with.
Exactly. Yes.
Nice, nice. This is a great experience. We aspire to learn from you a lot. Specifically that networking and collaboration things. But this brings me to the next question. That according to your opinion, what are the most crucial skills that young entrepreneurs should develop in today's dynamic environment that we see around us? The fast change, super fast changing technologies, artificial intelligence, and everything around us is changing super fast. So, in such a dynamic environment, what should be the most crucial skill that any young entrepreneur should possess?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this sort of like as a father and a grandfather as well as an
Ah,
entrepreneur.
excellent.
So
We'll be getting a personal touch from you then.
yes, so I would think traits um, to develop and refine and rely upon would include intellectual curiosity, being open to everything around you, um, reading, listening, pursuing um, trends and topics that are emerging. Um, you could either be obsessed with history or you could be obsessed with the present day and tomorrow. And I would emphasize more the latter. There's so much happening at such an accelerated pace that you know um, keeping your eyes open and your ears open to what's going on is an important trait. So curiosity, active curiosity. The second would be empathy. This is a hard one. You really are almost born with it or not, but it's being able to relate and project yourself into the wants, needs, pains, opportunities, dreams of others. Put yourself in their shoes because that will draw you into a solution for them. If you're only pushing and not pulling, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. So the ability to empathize and project the wants, needs, priorities of others into your mindset is another very important skill. I think another skill would be being selective, making judgments on what's worthwhile and what isn't. You can't do everything at once. You need to prioritize. You need to eliminate possibilities. So be discerning in what you invest your time, energy, thoughts, and efforts in. There needs to be a payback. There needs to be a return on that investment. And everything is not equal. There's certain things that have more potential than others. And you've got to rank order them and then cut from the bottom of the list. Things that are fun or interesting but don't have potential are not worthy of your time. I think maybe another important trait would be in seeking out mentors and colleagues. Don't just ask for help. offer help. Um,
True.
find out what they need, what interests them, and offer that in exchange. Um, this is really important. Um, you can ask for a handout from somebody, but if you want an ongoing relationship that continues to add value for you, it needs to be a value exchange, not a
True.
contribution. So think about what you can bring to somebody else or another organization, while you're asking for help or input. So I'd say those are probably the handful of traits to develop and refine now as you're beginning your journey. They'll serve you well for 50 years. I can promise you that.
For sure, definitely, and I believe that both of the qualities that you mentioned are about to be open to listening and learning.
Yes, being closed-minded, jumping to a conclusion, being a know-it-all, is a dead end. Not only will it, limit your in the pace of your
Mhm.
growth, but it will turn off others who could be helping you and offering you thoughts you haven't come up with yet. So yeah, I'm in sync with what how you just framed that. I agree.
For sure, sir. So, as we are coming towards the limited time, so as you are aware that we are having this session for the young entrepreneurs that we are catering to. So, what would you advise for our youth ideathon participants? They are coming up with new ideas. They are participating in this program in the form of a competition. They will be competing for the next 2 months on a continuous basis, working on some new ideas, some newness, uniqueness. So, what would you advise them?
Okay, so you have access to something I never even dreamt of, and that's artificial intelligence. Um, First of all, the caveat: don't let AI or expect AI to do the work for you. It
Mhm.
won't. It's going to be artificial, mechanical, commoditized. But it's a resource and a platform for you to gain knowledge at an incredible rate, um, to keep probing it. One thing I've learned to appreciate is the art of the prompt. This is the key to unlocking the power of AI.
Mhm.
So, as you're exploring competition, as you're exploring the marketplace, the consumer, the target customer, um, uh, use AI strategically and keep digging, keep probing deeper and deeper into the mine of knowledge and facts and realities that AI has opened for you. Um, it's
So
it's
true.
it's almost frightening for somebody at my stage to see the impact and velocity of AI. But for you, it should be exciting, fun, and a thrill ride. Frankly, just keep it under control. You own AI. AI does not own you. So
Oh,
um,
Neil. Okay.
I think harnessing that power will it'll be a 10x increase in the focus and the pace of your entrepreneurial journey. And so I step aside as you inherit AI and put it to work for you. It's frankly too much for me at this stage. But um, just like social media is in your hands now, AI
Mhm.
is there for you as well. So that would be my advice. Own AI, don't let it own you, and it will be a
Very well
wild
said, sir.
and
Very well said. So,
beneficial journey.
basic thing is use AI to do the manual work, not the creative work. The creative work, the empathizing work should be done by you yourself.
Yes, yes,
Excellent, sir.
exactly.
Yeah. One last question from my end, then we'll switch over to the students. And I think this question is in minds of students as well, being a part of this competition. So my question to you is, if you could start a new venture tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Okay, it's very related to what I was just saying. I think what I find the pain point, right? This is what's
Hmm.
important. Look for
True.
pain in the marketplace. I think there's AI induced pain. I would start something that's, in a sense, an AI concierge, that would connect um, people in need and the resources of AI. Um, I would put myself in the middle of that disconnect, and I would become the navigator, the Sherpa of AI for those who need it. Because otherwise, they can be consumed by it. As I was saying, AI can own them, and they're probably not going to think of ways to use it. So I would think of a service business that somehow brings the power of AI, curates it, refines it, and connects it with those who need it but don't have the sophistication or the patience to navigate their own journey to it. I think that's a the wild west, uh, is what that's all about right now. And I would jump in with both feet and try to bring some order and rationale to it. I think that would be a value added service that many would need. So that's what I would do if I was starting something new.
So basically, look for an opportunity in the chaos.
Yes, exactly right. Be drawn to chaos, because that's where you've got opportunity. The messier it is, the more fragmented it is. That should be your. It's singing your song. It's speaking to you. Jump into it.
Very true, sir. Excellent, sir. So this is quite a learning experience for me as well as the kids. So I'll open this platform for the kids' questions. So first question that I have is from Prachi Gautam. She asked how you get idea to start this business. But I believe this has already been answered, that you said you go to the market and identify the pain points, empathize with your customer, and then generate an idea. How can you solve that pain? And
Yes,
afterwards you can already generate money along with the process.
yes, I totally agree with that. If you've done all those things right, the money will follow.
For sure. Another question is, how did you thought to start a business? Like, you have had the quite good jobs, quite well-paying jobs, and I believe that even though those jobs might be a little bit frustrating, a little bit like too tiring, but why would you start from the scratch? Because when you start a business, it is not just starting from zero, but it is starting from negative, because you have to invest your money, you have to invest your time and everything into the business with no surety whether you will get something in return. So yeah, how did that thought come to your mind?
Sure. So I'll add a little more drama to that, in that when I started my business, I was the father of two small sons, uh, and that was pressure. I could not fail, so that was part of it. Frankly, was knowing I could not
Mhm.
fail. There's a analogy about you burn the boats after you land on the next the next turf that you want to seize. So I burned the boats. There was no turning back, no looking back. Failure was not an option. So that was a big part of it. But to answer the question more specifically, it was doing an analysis, an assessment of
Mhm.
what if I continue on the path that I'm currently on? What are the likely outcomes? It could level off uh, and become boring. The company that I was with could fail, and I'd be, left out on the street unexpectedly. Um, um, or I could climb the ranks, and it could be even better. And so I sort of put probabilities against those based on my gut instincts, and realized that it was more likely to level off and become boring, stale, stagnant. And intellectually, I could not live that way. I could not envision the next, 20, 30 years of my life, um, you know, just showing up and going through the motions. So
Mhm.
then I looked inward and said, okay, what I was advising everyone to do? Looked inward. What are my passions? Coaching, mentoring, marketing, strategizing. um, helping others, advising. So that was the pivot. That was the transition that enabled me to walk away proudly, confidently from what I had
Mhm.
done and move on to the next chapter where I was betting on the two variables. One is myself, the second is the marketplace. I was willing
So
to bet on those two variables, and that's what I did.
to conclude, we can say that you have to be analytical to take this decision first, so that you don't have to look back.
Correct. No regrets is my mantra. And so maybe that's why I waited longer than many people to start a venture, but I
Yeah.
needed to reach the point of no regrets. Um, it was too satisfying, too rewarding for me to bail out earlier. But when
Yeah.
I finally did, I knew I would never have regrets about doing it, and that's important to me. When things are not
That
going
clarity
well,
is necessary
yeah,
for sure.
clarity and let's say a pristine uh, conscience, conscience of I didn't do something wrong. I didn't leave prematurely. I didn't leave too late. It's like that was the intersection of opportunity and desire, and so that's why no regrets is it's a it's a good mantra, at least for me.
Excellent. That is basically a basic need of any entrepreneur when they are deciding to pivot. So we'll have next question from Aditi Karthik. Aditi, can you please unmute yourself and say ask your question?
Yes. Okay. Hello. I'm Aditi. My question is, if I'm a student entrepreneur who wants to become an entrepreneur, what's my first step? What step do I take after doing all the market analysis and research? What's my first step?
Your
And so
first
adding on to her question, I do have a follow an add-on question as well. Like an entrepreneurial journey is always a risky journey, but we have to take some harsh decision in throughout the process, harsh decisions throughout the process. So would you advise any entrepreneur to have a fallback plan, or we should just jump in without any fallback plans?
Um, yes. So the time and energy that's required for a true fallback plan, um, especially at the young age of our participants today, I don't think is really that necessary. Um, I would not think of it as a fallback, but I'd call it a pivot. In other words, it's a variation on what your core idea is. So, and you will organically develop that as aspects of your initial idea succeed or fail. So it's like a dynamic process of trial, observation, and adjustment. That's the way I would think of it. And to answer the young lady's question, um, a very good first step I have found, and I advise my marketing clients to do this, is produce a website for your idea. You're not going to publish the website or launch it yet, but it will force you to come up with your value proposition, your brand. It'll force you to decide who you're speaking to, who's your target market. It will force you to look at your competition so that you're not replicating what they've done, but you're coming with something fresh. So produce a website that you're not yet going to publish. It brings together all the things that you'll ultimately need to decide and do. So in a sense, you're leading with the promise that you're going to fulfill over time. I hope I've answered your question.
So basically,
It's a
it
good one.
is all about being clarity. If you are preparing a website that you are not going to publish yet, it will give you some clarity, the necessary clarity that is needed in the before starting the entrepreneurial journey.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering this question very nicely in a detailed manner. So we'll have our next question from Hariom Kumar. Hariom, can you just switch on your camera and ask your question, please?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I want to ask who is an entrepreneur? or entrepreneur finds a problem, or problem comes to the entrepreneur at a right time, like someone sees a problem at a place and start to solve the problem for the people, and that's become big. Entrepreneurship is like that.
Are you saying your theory is that an entrepreneur is someone who finds and solves a problem for others?
Yes, or those who take risk.
If I ask his question comically, then we can say that his question is he's asking who is an entrepreneur. Does the problem comes to an entrepreneur or the entrepreneur goes to the problem?
Wow, that's an excellent question. Um, the answer is both at different times. When you're starting out, the entrepreneur is the one who's searching for the problem and
Mhm.
jumps into it, jumps in the middle of it. Over time, as you succeed in doing that, and as you're recognized for doing that by others, problems will come to you. And that's when you become a consultant or an advisor. So they're somewhat simultaneous, but the start for most of you is search for a problem. Search for a problem. I have this analogy that I use, and if I'm getting too abstract, I apologize. But the difference between wants, needs, and pain. Everyone has wants, and they whisper them. You know, when they walk by the car dealer and they see the beautiful Lamborghini, they go, "Oh yeah, I'd love to have that." That's a want. A need is you go to the store, you find the product you need, you speak up and you ask for it and you buy it. A pain point, a pain, you scream it. You hit your hand with the hammer as you're trying to drive the nail. That's a pain point. You're not going to be whispering or just saying it. So I would tell you, watch for pain points, at the very least needs, but wants are much more elusive and frivolous. So being a student and observer of pain and needs is a great way to begin as an entrepreneur. You'll be drawn to it and then come up with a solution that will soothe the pain, maybe cure it, but at very least fulfill a need.
Excellent, sir. And if I can add on to some point to it, to be an entrepreneur, just find a problem and try to pursue the problem. Other problems will follow you, be
Yes.
it in the form of pressure from the society, pressure from the your loved ones, or some career pressure, or some pressure from the customers itself. So you will problems will find you later on, but you will have
Yes.
to find the first problem.
Yes. And the good news is there's never a shortage of problems. Uh, Good times, bad times, recessions, wars. There's always
Problems will
problems.
always be there. So true, so
Yep.
true. So, as we can notice, we are just ahead of time. We have taken too much of time from you. So, we'll take one last question. That is Shaurya Gupta. Please, can you switch on your camera, unmute yourself, and ask your question?
Good evening, sir. My name is Shaurya, and I just wanted to ask that as there are different economies and societies, that the cultures are different in many ways. Because in US there is hustle cultures and there is internships that are given. It's very prevalent in that culture as compared to from the country that I am in, like India. And as we know that our society is more risk averse than let's say other countries. So what could be the evergreen principles that you could give to the students or the children who are in the countries like us where there is very scared of failure and scared of these things. And also one thing that I wanted to also ask is that if we wanted to connect with you further, where can we contact you?
Okay. So, yes, fear of failure
How to cure
is,
fear of failure? Nice, valid point.
it's not a bad thing to fear failure. As I said earlier, in describing my journey, failure was not an option. Now, one could say that was because my fear of failure was so strong that I needed to close it off, frankly. and say, why would I be? I'm not afraid of it anymore because it cannot happen. I would not allow it to happen. So listen to the fear. Let it motivate you to add learning and add resources that will minimize the chances of failure. Keep doing that. Harness that emotion. Don't ignore it. You will reach a point if you keep listening to it and acting on it, not just listening, but acting on it. Eventually that fear will subside and you will have built this inventory of resources and ideas and advisors that will ensure success. So use it, don't ignore it, and don't let it handicap you or put you, freeze you from moving forward. I hope I've answered that question. It's not a bad thing. It's not just culturally. If someone doesn't fear failure, they're not being realistic, regardless of the culture that they're in. But confront it, use it, and diminish it by your activity, and that's a good thing. That could take a while. That's fine, but eventually you
have
will
to build a habit for it.
Yeah, exactly. Use it to your advantage. It's not a bad thing. As far as reaching me, probably the best suggestion I could have is go to my website, which is Bauer, Bauer -inc.com. You'll learn more about what I do, what I've done. Maybe that'll answer some questions. I cannot say that I'm going to be able to answer every inquiry and every email. I would encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn. That would be a very important thing. And I should have said that at the beginning of this. Whatever it takes, I would strongly urge you to create a LinkedIn page for yourself. This is where you'll start to build your network and get inputs that otherwise you would miss out on. So I realize there's probably a minimum age to do that, but LinkedIn is arguably your greatest platform for accessing people like me, if not directly, indirectly. So get a LinkedIn page, start to build your profile, start to reach out, follow people like me, network, connect. That's a really good way to get started. So that would be the best way to not just me, but to access people like me, because candidly, people like me and other entrepreneurs at this stage of their journey want to be helpful to you, want to help inspire you, and see your progress. That's why, from a personal level, that's why I'm doing the camp that I'm doing, is the exposure to hundreds of amazing people, your peers, they're the same age as you, with ideas and energy and so on. So LinkedIn is your free, easy, immediate way to, start to leverage the limitations of your age and your location. The world is yours through LinkedIn, and I'm not exaggerating that.
Excellent, sir. Thank you so much for answering all these queries. And thank you so much, kids, for asking so interesting questions. The last one, I'm really a fan of this last one question, and the way you resolve this question. The fear of failure. Everyone has it. You have to embrace the fear of failure. You just don't react to the fear of failure, but respond to it in a strategic manner, use it in a strategic manner. Excellent, sir. And it has been really a learning experience for us. Overall, I believe the student should get away with one point, that we should be open to learning and open to listening. And people like you, people, experienced people, entrepreneurs, they are willing to help. They are more than willing to help than we can ever imagine. We are just conscious, many times we are just conscious, so, yeah, he's a so big shot person, whether should I mail him or not, whether he'll be able to respond or not. But as per your suggestion, the way you expressed it, we should just go with it, we should just do it. The reaction, the response will come or not, that is a thing of later. So in the very beginning, you mentioned be action oriented. So this has to be in all aspects of life.
Totally agree. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've enjoyed it, and I wish all the participants well. And I salute you for doing this. This is a weekday evening. You and your parents have indicated, your sincerity and your potential. So I salute you for being here today as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, and for sharing your experience and exposure along with your journey. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you so much.